help me face the rising sun. Comfort me through all the pain that life may bring. There's no other hope that I can lean upon. Lead me, Lord, lead me all my life. Walk by me across the lonely roads that I may face. Take my arms and let your hand show me the way. Show the way to live inside your heart all my days, all my life. You are my light, you're the lamp upon my feet. All the time, my Lord, I need you there. You are my light, I cannot live alone. Let me stay by your guiding love all through my life. Lead me, Lord.
Good day, everyone. Today we will have our first discussion of the lesson entitled The Human Force in the Story. And by that, what is the human force in a story? The answer is character. Now remember that in fiction, you are the creator of the people in a story. However, because non-fiction deals with the lives of real people, the characters are already created. Thus, as a creative non-fiction writer, it would be up to you to reveal these real people to the readers in an imaginative way. This means using the characterization techniques of fiction. Conventional nonfiction, like news reports, concentrates more on events than characters or people involved in these events. This may be due to the connotation of the word character, which implies someone's fictitious or not real, lest you have the same impression. Remember that in creative nonfiction, character refers to real people. Life events, unless regarded as forces of nature or acts of God, are basically acts of human themselves. Most of the time, we want to understand the person behind an act in order to understand the act itself. Why does she want to wear a blue dress? Why does he drink coffee? Why can't she do it? These are usual questions about usual actions done by people that we want answered by understanding their character or personhood. If people commit a crime, we want to get to know their personal background, the environment they live in, the kind of lifestyle they led, or the values they hold. Then we begin to understand that, for instance, their unhappy family or lavish standard of living provide enough cause for them to become drug addicts, or whatever they are right now. Picture a real character as a three-legged element in your story, wherein the personality, values, desires, and motives of the character create the action that happens in a particular place, thus creating a scene. Now let's try to read the character's transition from different emotions that create several scenes and actions in Jerome K. Jerome's Three Men in a Boat. Three Men in a Boat. There were four of us: George, and William Samuel Harris, and myself, and Montmorency. We were sitting in my room, smoking and talking about how bad we were. Bad from a medical point of view, I mean, of course. We were all feeling seedy and we were getting quite nervous about it. Harry said he felt such extraordinary fits of giddiness come over him at times that he hardly knew what he was doing, and then George said that he had fits of giddiness too, and hardly knew what he was doing. With me, it was my liver that was out of order. It is a most extraordinary thing. I sat for a while, frozen with horror, and then, in the listlessness of despair, I again turned over the pages. I came to typhoid fever, read the symptoms, discovered that I had typhoid ever. Must have had it for months without knowing it. Wondered what else I had got. Turned up to St. Vitus dance, found, as I expected, that I had it too. Began to get interested in my case and determined to sift it to the bottom, and so started alphabetically, read up ague and learned that I was sickening for it, and that the acute stage would commence in about another or tonight. Bright as this is, I was relieved to find I had only in a modified form, and so far as that was concerned I might live for years. Cholera I had, with severe complications, and diphtheria I seem to have been born with. I plodded conscientiously through the 26 letters, and the only malady I could conclude I had not got was housemaid's knee. I sat and pondered. I thought what an interesting case I must be from a medical point of view. What an acquisition I should be to a class. Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. The person's emotional situation offers a rich source of characterization, just like how this character from The Three Men in a Boat, written by Jerome K. Jerome, was characterized from his different emotions felt all throughout the course of the story. Let's notice how the narrator swings from anxiety, despair, horror, and humorous acceptance of those diseases that had visited the body of the main character. He is not fatalistically considering that he might have died from any of those diseases. Instead, he assumes a realistic and relaxed attitude on the causes of sickness. Now, aside from the emotional shifts of a certain character, we can say that we can have this characterization through the physical objects that he or she possesses. For example, a physical object tells a lot about a person. What kind of person do you think your teacher is if you see her always carrying different colors of markers for grading her students in a binder where she has carefully arranged all her lessons? You also notice that she always leaves her table in the classroom clean, neat, and orderly. That's right. Your teacher is a neat, orderly, and organized person. You have facts to prove it. The physical objects and the actions. The carrying of the markers, the clearing up of the table, and the scene wherein it all happened inside a classroom where you, as the student, saw what is happening. Now let's try to observe a person from your life. It could be your mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, and any other person in your life. Whoever it is that you want to observe, try to observe that guy or that woman for a moment, please. Well, on my case, I have this certain friend of mine that I've been observing, and yeah, I've been observing her for a while now. Now, I want you to do what I'm trying to do. I want you to observe the person based on how or she moves, talks, and reacts to a certain thing. I'm going to give you at least 10 seconds on observing that person. However, if that person is not here, of course, you need to go back through the memory lane on what happened on that particular day or in time where you have this conversation with that person or where you have this interaction with that or with her. 10 seconds starts now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Now let me give you my observation on this certain friend of mine. Well, this certain friend of mine is actually really, really nice. She hates being late. and she passes her requirements ahead of time, which is very good considering how hard her workload is, and she's always giving her best. Well, all in all, I can characterize her and I can say that this special friend, oh, sorry, certain friend of mine is a very dedicated person towards her job. And yeah, that's my observation. And I do hope that you already created your observations. It could be from in a form of a few sentences or a few lines on that certain friend or person in your life. Now, let's have this character building exercise. In this first exercise, you will read the poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, an American author and poet. And here's the poem, Father, by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. He never made a fortune or a noise in the world where men are seeking after fame, but he had a wealthy brood of girls and boys who loved the very ground on which he trod. They thought him just a little short of God. Oh, you should have heard the way they said his name, Father. There seemed to be a loving little prayer in their voices, even when they called him Dad. Though the man was never heard of anywhere as a hero, yet you somehow understood he was doing well his part in making good. And you knew it by the way his children had of saying, Father. Father, by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. From the excerpt that we just read, let's try to analyze the character of the father as a person in the poem. From the lines, he never made a fortune or a noise in a world where men are seeking after fame, we can characterize the father as a simple man. Next, on the lines, but he had a healthy brood of girls and boys who loved the very ground on which he trod, we can see how this man or this father got a different kind of wealth, which is his children. Next, they thought him just a little short of God. Oh, you should have heard the way they said his name, Father. And from those lines, we can see the admiration that the sons, the daughters of that father have for him, which means that on the eyes of other people, this father figure is somewhat so magnificent and so good on doing his part as a father, in a sense that his children admires him so much. And it is compared, and the father is even compared to God. So imagine how good that father is. Next up, there seemed to be a loving little prayer in their voices when they called him Dad. Once again, there's the admiration. Next, though the man was never heard of anywhere as a hero, yet you somehow understood. Well, we can see here that the father is somewhat nowhere to be found or nowhere to be heard of, which means that this father is, yeah, he's just this ordinary type of father. He is not the type of father who is well known all around the world or all around the country, but he is good and he is great in the eyes of his children. And last, he was doing well his part in making good, just like what I've said earlier. And you knew it by the way his children had of saying Father. And from this, we've seen how the children respected the father because of how well the father is doing his part in the family. And we all know that as a father, you have to provide love, care, and financial support, even emotional and psychological support to the whole family. And by doing that, we can say that that father is awesome. That is how Ella Wheeler Wilcox characterized the father on this poem. Now, for your activity, using 150 words, I want you to characterize either Jose Rizal or Andres Bonifacio. I want you to write it on a short bond paper. Once again, characterize using 150 words either Jose Rizal or Andres Bonifacio. An example of this are the following. You may use this title if you want to, but here's the basic construction of it. You need to have the title, an example of which is the character behind the face Rizal. and of course your name as the author of the literary piece. And after that, underneath it, you need to write down the 150 words of characterization based from your observations on that certain person. Now you might be asking, how am I supposed to characterize Jose Rizal or Andres Bonifacio? He's already dead. They're already dead. How can I suppose, or how am I supposed to observe them, just like what we did earlier? How? Well, if that's the case, then you need to consult. Consult different literary pieces about them. Consult the internet. However, please be wary on using the internet because there's a lot of people who can post anything in the internet and make it believable. Next is you can use the book. If you have any books there stating who is Rizal and who is Andres Bonifacio, then of course you may use that. And yeah, that's it. You just have to research. Try to find the answers behind those questions of yours. And then write the answer on that short bond paper. Got it? Well, thank you once again on listening and watching our topic for today. I do hope that you will be able to complete your task for today. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.